DACA also had a tremendous impact on our economy because people who traditionally were not permitted to work in the United States were now all given permission to work in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So those jobs that we've always considered as low level, entry level jobs, McDonald's, grocery checkers, the cart corrallers at Walmart, low level managers, where we always saw children, who were not college bound. They go out, they get a job, they work hard, they become a shift manager, and the next thing they're a supervisor. Then there's a career path if you keep your head down and work hard. What we saw is people who are not legally in this country get into those positions, and many of them still hold those positions today. There has been no upward trajectory. They hold these positions. So where do these kids go who are not college bound? What do they do then? What's the next step for them? So we have this underclass, if you want to call it that, of people who are not permitted legally to be in the United States, but they're here and they're protected every 2 years under DACA and permitted to work here. Tell me how fair that is to young Tyrell, who's not college bound. He was a horrible student, doesn't want to go to college, and he just wants to get a job so he can save up enough money to go to welding school or some other thing. And he can't because Miss Marisol from El Salvador is working the job, but by all rights should have been Tyrell's. And Miss Marisol's not giving the job up. Now what?
Yeah.
And that's where we found ourselves, maybe probably year 2 in Barack Obama's term or second term. And what that got us was a lot of activism from both sides. The leftists didn't like him, the conservatives didn't like him, and everybody was forming these little groups to come after him. We saw the onset of BLM, and then we got all of these, white kids for Obama who were coming out of the woodworker saying, "You're not doing enough." Then we had the Spanish activists, "You're not doing enough." DACA was part 1. He had another thing called DAPA, where it's supposed to have the parents stay. And that was successfully defeated. So this was a small part of a larger thing. Tyrone is right. Obamacare was horrible, but he had other horrible ideas to set America back, America's youth back, generations.
Well, what he did was he helped make, as I mentioned, he helped make unilateral governance a public governing philosophy. So, and some people, then this is the question whether or not this is a good thing. Now, I think most conservatives think it's a bad thing. But what he did was, if Congress didn't move, the White House would act. And what they do, they would act through these agencies, memorandums, and regulation. And so that delivered immediate political victories, but it also produced constitutional lawsuits. This is when he did that DACA, I believe the Republicans took back the House that year. All right. So also there were constitutional lawsuits, unstable policy, and increasingly views that every election was this existential battle. This was going to be the end of the democracy. We got that term a lot under him. And so the long-term cost of bypassing Congress was that nothing remained settled. No institution remains trusted now. And each president now inherits a more powerful weapon than the president before him. And his presidency was, I would say or argue, the onset of that philosophy.
Well, let me say this. And this is the boring life that I lead. I have read a biography, at least one, about every president. Okay. The worst president, in my estimation, was Woodrow Wilson. The best, in my estimation, was Theodore Roosevelt. So I look at these guys after they leave office clinically. Yes, DACA, bad. The attempt at letting the parents in, bad. It's also true that Trump might catch up with Obama in terms of the number of people he deported.
Right.
One of the reasons that I supported Trump is because, look, and I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I like the idea of no foreign war, no wars. I understand what's going on in Iran. Okay. And I agree with it. but it is also true that Barack Obama, now he was a hell of a drone warrior. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and look, let's be real. Obama take you out at a wedding, ring bearer, flower girl, caterer, DJ,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Okay, so he was prosecuting the war on terror just in a different way. So again, I encourage folk to look. Because people always say, well, Trump's the worst president. That's because
Mm-hmm.
you think history started with your birth date.
Right.
Or, Trump's the best president. Again,
Mm-hmm.
you think history started with your birth date. Um, but
Now,
when
let
they
me just ask you very
sure.
quickly:
hmm
why do you think Woodrow Wilson? Can
hmm
you give me some reason? Why do you think Woodrow Wilson is the worst president of our
Woodrow
lifetime?
Wilson was a virulent racist. He desegregated the civil service. He screamed "Birth of a Nation" in the White
Mm-hmm.
House, and he also laid the groundwork for the United Nations. Uh, it was the League of Nations, but it
Mm-hmm.
was the same idea.
Right, right, right.
Uh, and some of there's some economic issues with him too that I could go into, but you need a whole pop and politics show for that. But last but not least, he had a damn stroke, and his wife was president for at least the
Mm-hmm.
last 18 months. Okay,
That caretaker.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
so there are a variety of and as far as Theodore Roosevelt, sure, the Monroe Doctrine named after James Monroe, but Roosevelt was the one that really put it into action and expanded the U.S. Navy. Um, his economy, his economic principles were really good. So I'm going to find a college to teach a history class at, and y'all can record it. I'll go into all that.
Now, see, I want to say really quickly, I personally believe Obama is the worst president in modern history. And the biggest reason is what I just said. I believe that he, as he mentioned, as Shelley always mentioned, he has fundamentally transformed our country and the way that our government works. I think the idea of with Obamacare, with DACA, um, with the way that he has increased the power of the executive, the way that he used executive agencies and the memorandums, and he has not only increased the power of the executive, but the way that he has I think that his administration was tantamount in pushing the distrust of many of our institutions. I think he is, and I think we have not really understood the amount and the level of destruction and chaos he has caused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
I
say
want
that.
to add. I
Let
want
me.
to add to this particular segment. I think FDR is one of the worst, and I'll tell you why. As it relates to the economy, if you
Mhm.
will, I think he was the impetus, the start of the great programs, the Social Security, Medicaid expansion, which I think also feeds into every president since then to expand the federal budget. Okay,
Mhm.
to expand federal spending, such that no matter what, whenever there is not an emergency, a national emergency, conservatives are cut spending. But let some emergency come up, conservatives they spend just as much or as regularly as the Democrats did that we just criticized. That's my little
Mhm.
libertarian bent.
Mhm.
However, those programs are still impacting us, and they will impact us for years to come. We still don't have a concerted effort with the Republican Congress and Senate to reduce that spending. President Trump, yes, he came in, doged, he did all of that, and even in his first term, President Trump, he cut a lot of regulations, but that
Yeah.
has not stopped our government from expanding more and more, particularly as far as spending and even the executive orders to date, or at least right now. I think President Trump and Obama kind of almost running neck and neck, if not 100 or so different executive orders orders over the course of Obama's term and then here to date. So that's the executive orders. Obama, I think, still beat out, I can't find my number. I think he still beat out Trump a little bit ahead, but Trump is still doing executive orders. I'm saying this to say this. Again, we focus on, largely speaking, we focus on the president. The onus and the focus should be on our Congress, who has allowed all of these things to expand, to grow the budgets, because our Congress controls the purse. And our Congress, we the people, we have more say. Our Congress has more say than it has allowed. Congress has sat back and allowed agencies to expand. All these things increase, things like that. So the onus should be on the president. Again, our expectations as a country are off and misguided.
I would agree with that. And KJ, I would encourage you. All of the things you mentioned are valid. The one I would take exception to is the presidents or the executives, in the case of Obama, usurpation of power. That's exactly what the executive, judicial, and the legislative branches, they are all supposed to be constantly vying for power. The Congress under Obama, especially that Republican Congress, they were so afraid of being called racist that they backed off of really asserting themselves under Obama. So they fell down.
But even still, this is where I got to push back against you guys. He still did it. He still started this. This is what I'm saying. The structural damage that either happened under him or that was allowed under him, he did it. The structural damage that he was able to do, I believe, is far more damaging to anything that any president has allowed or done in modern history. He enlarged the presidential and administrative power. And even though like you said, we have three co-equal branches of government, but he was able to increase and accelerate that. Not only that, but with these identity politics, I don't think people have even started to understand.
And I think that's where he has
really push. Talk about how this has, weakened our country, weakened our confidence in institutions, and I think it has really done damage that we're still suffering from, and the generations to come will suffer from. DACA alone, you talk about this invasion under Biden and the border. DACA is, I think, caused more harm than even the open border. And now that's coming a lot from me, because I always talk about how the border was a terrible thing under Biden, but DACA, it has caused such harm to our country. The list goes on, and it was all under him.
Agreed. And it was just like, a wholesale amnesty.
Right.
No thought processes, no vetting, just wholesale amnesty. And I think that was horrible. But I think Tyrone had hit a key point in what he was saying, is that legislators were so afraid of pushing back against the Black man and being called racist when we talk about how that ugly was bubbling up that we didn't have before. It was bubbling up. So you have a whole race of people who are saying, hey, this guy is doing us dirty, but we can't say anything, because if we say something, we're going to mortally offend these other people. Mm-hmm. And it creates hard feelings. You feel like your position in this country, your position in the world has been diminished simply and solely based on your skin tone. Your argument, your complaint may be absolutely valid, but you better not say nothing. Your white ass better not say nothing about this Black president. You better not. You'll be racist and we'll shut your business down. We'll haunt your children and slap your wife. All hell's going to break loose. And I think that was the very beginning of people feeling marginalized. And then you have Black people who are saying, you don't have to walk on eggshells around me. You didn't walk on eggshells around me 4 years ago. Why are we doing the eggshell thing now? Well, you know why? Because now you have this powerful weapon called the Black card. Now look at us today, when the Black card has lost all but everything of its power. Black people are reeling, white people are reeling, and the Islamists are running through the country rampant. We are so busy trying to figure out how we got here. A whole other problem has cropped up. They have replaced Black people with brown people, and they have done it openly. DACA was not a warning shot. DACA was a fatal shot. Mm-hmm. Where we had people who were brought here as children. Okay, what are you mad at us for? Be mad at your mama. She's the one who brought you. And then he wants the parents to come to give them absolute amnesty too? Tell me that's not directly out of the leftist playbook. When we look at what Obama did, straight out of the leftist playbook, tax the rich. What did he do? Everybody, quote unquote, got some tax relief. Now, I didn't feel a thing. I'm just be honest with you. My economic things are personal. I can't vouch for nobody else, but I can tell you how Nicole Bennett's budget was during the Obama years. I had to tighten down the hatches. Tight. I felt no recovery. However, for those of you who did feel a little something, how long did it last? How long did you feel stimulated? It was short term. And we were right back to the position we were before. So when we look at the rise of Donald Trump, the rise of Donald Trump had nothing to do with him being, a billionaire playboy from New York City. It had everything to do with him saying what we felt, saying what all of us felt. We all felt pretty marginalized. We all felt like we were all getting treated some kind of way. And here comes the guy that says, I don't care if you're black or white. If you feel marginalized, say it. People love that, especially after 8 years of you better keep your mouth shut. And DACA was bullshit. And he said that openly. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And to round it out, as far as my contention, is the cultural impact that
that's the
Obama
impact.
had.
That's the part.
I mean, look at what he did for marriage, sexuality, and religion. I mean, he entered national politics opposing same-sex marriage, but then announced his support in 2012, and he became the first sitting president to do so. All right, so during his presidency, public support increased substantially, and the Supreme Court legalized same marriage. That changed everything. We have religious liberty debates, Christian institutions and businesses were impacted. The Democrat Party orthodoxy totally changed. Hollywood, corporate America, and pop culture. I mean, the list goes on. Now, to be fair, he didn't personally legalize same-sex marriage. Of course, the Supreme Court issued the ruling, but he was the catalyst. He was the move started it all. And what are your thoughts there?
Well, I was always against same-sex marriage. Okay.
Right.
But
Me too.
I understood.
You had the civil unions, right?
I don't say they're married.
The government cannot offer a benefit to some Americans and exclude others. We've been down that road, and that's why the Supreme Court ruled the way they did. And look, like 99% of things in America, that was an economic issue. Wealthy gay people said, hey, we want the opportunity to manage our money with the same benefits that are reserved for married couples. We want the tax benefits. We want it all. Okay.
What's up, everybody? This is Poppin' Politics. Get your merch. Are you a Poppin' Politics fan? Are you unapologetically American? Or not black, not white American? We got it all for you right here. Get your merch.
Get the classic shirt. Classic. Goes with everything, comes in a variety of colors. Smart, edgy, conservative, like us, like you. This is a great way to support the channel. Click the merch button.
There is no shame in being an American. Get your shirt today and be unapologetic about it. Get your shirt, wear it, and be a proud American.
You can get it all in t-shirts and hoodies. You can get it in stickers, on bags. You can get it all on our website, metroconservativemedia.com, or our YouTube page, Pop and Politics, and tag over to store. You can get your merch and show you're proud to be an American and support Pop and Politics.